do it actually today. So we're gonna work most on the methodology part, collecting the data. Then once we collect the data, it is the matter to organize in a proper order. I have not yet shared the screen. When I will start doing it, I will share the screen immediately. So once we already finished literature review, another part is to start to record, to come up with the methodology itself. So in here, we are given a database, which is very known for everyone, like World Database, which is for free. You can download all the types of data. What we need in here to download only the financial statements related data. And when we go here, everyone is familiar how to do it. I will do it quickly for samples selected for specific banks, but I need to select in here Global Financial Development. Here, I'm selecting it. Once database has been selected, I'm gonna select 5 countries, just in a sample. I'll select the following countries like Kazakhstan. I'll select the Kyrgyz Republic. I'll select Russian. I'll select Belarus. I'll select Armenia. As you can guess, I have selected custom union based countries. There are 5 countries in Eurasian custom union countries. So I selected 5 countries. Then I'll have to select 5 variables. Which variables I'm going to select? I'm going to select, first of all, what I'm planning to do in here is to run the profitability determinants. What determines the profitability of the banks in Eurasian custom countries? So I will select the as profitability determinant as NIM. NIM is my net interest margin of the banks. This is my is dependent variable. Then I will select ratios that are like camel-based ratios. They're capital adequacy, liquidity ratios. Then I will select cost to income ratio, the management efficiency, and I will select, we can select any other ratios. What else we can select? Asset quality, ICQL, which is NPL, non-performing loans. And we can select as a macro variable GDP. So basically, I'm selecting 5 independent variables and 1 dependent variable. My dependent variable is profitability my profitability proxy that I'm going to use it. So once I selected this, I will do the regression analysis. And by the way, apart from that, I will use a dummy variable. Dummy, which is more clearly crisis, that measures how the crisis period affects the dummy variable. Now, so we're going to select as a macro variable dummy crisis, like during the crisis period, how the profitability Yes, of course. I'm saving all my videos that I told you last time and I'm putting in the Moodle. You can reach it after that as well. So this is our main aim. These first variables are cap, leak, and cost to income, and NPL are micro variables. GDP and dynamic crisis are the macro variables. We want to see how these variables affect the net interest margin. So let us select it. Now I can just clear all drawings. Now let us select. We selected 5 countries. We selected database itself, of course. We'll start with like this is capital adequacy, capital to assets. This is cost to income ratio, which measures the management efficiency of the banks. And bank lending, net interest margin is here, our dependent variable. This is what we're gonna measure. Then we go further, bank non-performing loans. We're gonna use this. These are the asset quality measurement. Then we're gonna use, going down, we can actually use the Z-score. By the way, Z-score, it is the variable that measures the stability of the banks, the stability of the financial system itself in the country. So we can measure how the stability of the financial system in a country affects the profitability of the bank, the financial performance of the bank. It's good, actually. I can add it to it. And here we are given the banking crisis dummy, like 2007, 2009. What was the global financial crisis effect on the financial performance of these selected countries? We can select as well. And I need to find liquidity. Okay, GDP. I'm gonna use GDP at market price. Okay, we're moving here. Now, we're up to liquidity here. Liquid assets to deposits. We're gonna use this one as liquidity measurement. So we selected 8 variables, that's good. Then we move to timing. Actually, before selecting dynamic crisis variable, I don't need it. I don't need to select, but you can select it still here. Okay, let it be here then. Then for timing, we use the maximum timing, but we know that the independence of the country in post-Soviet Union countries, it started to get after 90s. So let's select this, and when we download the Excel itself, we'll make some changes. So apply changes. So data is downloaded, it is ready to be downloaded. Here you can just press on the right side on the above. You can download in a CC format, like there's some different types of format are given to be downloaded, but we're gonna use as an Excel format. So the Excel format is downloaded here. Now, as you can see, before 1993s and 1991s, and the data are missing. So we just delete this part, we don't need it. So our data will start from 1996, even look at here. The proper data comes from the 1996, but this can be deleted, we don't need it. So we delete this, we start from 1996 till 2007. This missing data, it's not a big deal, it's not a big issue, okay? Don't worry about it. It's not a big issue, actually. Now, what we are trying to do here, we need to organize the data for the STATA analysis, for the STATA software, in a way that it will accept. So we need to convert the data into a specific format. You remember last time I have been mentioning that there are different types of data sets. I said that first, there is a panel data. Second, I said there's a time series. And the third, I said there is cross-section. So when it comes to the time series, it means that you have only one country or bank and many years. Okay, one country or one bank and many years. This is all about the time series. However, when it comes to the cross section, It is just opposite. Many countries or banks and 1 year. But when it comes to the panel data, it's just a mixture. Mixture of time series and cross-section analysis. So we are dealing with the cross-section because we have many banks or countries, and we are dealing with many years. In the case of Islam, if you remember, we talked yesterday with you, and your case is the time series. That's why the data is not available. For the time series, in order to do the regression analysis, at least we should have 47 years. We had only 29, I think, and still is not enough. The result doesn't get a really proper estimation. We don't get the unbiased estimation. We get biased estimation, like it's just mixed up everything there. So in order to get the proper result, you should have minimum 47 number of years. So in the panel data, as you can see, now you will see how the structure will change. So this is, I'm gonna save it as well, this things. Okay. Okay, now let's continue here. So what we do here, we don't need this thing, country. Okay, one question comes. What is that question? Can I eliminate time series and work without it? Islam, actually, to make that, yes, there is one way to do it. And the way we already discussed with you, it is the way to get your data by country basis. Like, you know that ADRB is in many countries. If we consider all these ADRB's country separately, then we're gonna have as a panel data. Otherwise, what we have in our hands with your data set, it is just time series. That's why we are facing some difficulties to run the regression analysis. Even we get the results are biased and cannot be interpreted. All are insignificant. So in here, we have the ratios and everything. I'm deleting this series, we don't need it. So what we are left with is like country code, series of the names of the variables that we are using, and the number of the years. So I'm just have to select all, copy, I'm copying this, and I will paste it in a new worksheet. And have to paste it in a transpose manner, okay? You copy it and you paste it in a transpose manner, okay? In order to organize in the way of panel data. Now here, what you're making here, the series name, you're changing to years, okay? We'll correct the years in here. So we have these years. And you remember the Eurasian Custom Union countries, they have 5 countries. So we copy this 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As you can see, in panel data, we created 100 and more than 100 years because there are 5 different countries. That's why it is better to use the panel data instead of cross-section or time series, because it gives you more data in terms of countries and in terms of the number of years. Now it's okay. What we need to do, we need to just put everything in here. Like we insert a new row, which will be the country code, which will be country. First, we have Kazakhstan. Okay. Then we have Kyrgyzstan. And we need to just select the data of Kyrgyzstan. For you not to waste the time, just select all like this. It's Shift and Control together and put the arrows. And it selects all. And just cut it. When you cut it, put it here. You can see it like this. Now, for Kyrgyzstan, just draw it until the Kyrgyzstan here. Then we have next country, Russia. So I will select from here, this is represents the Russia, shift control and arrow to the right, and do not leave the shift and control, keep it and make it down arrow as well. Just Control X to cut it and put it here. This is Russia. Now, another country, I think the Belarus. Yes, Belarus. Same method, shift control, arrow down and arrow right, Control X. I put it here as a Belarus. The Belarus is abbreviated as BLR. And the last thing is left here, which is Armenia, and which is abbreviated as RM. Now, I don't need this. That's great. And I don't need this. I'm deleting. Guys, make sure that you don't have anything extra on here is written like words, anything. And make sure you don't have anything written in here below. Now, let's abbreviate our variable names like bank capital to total asset. It measures the capital adequacy. We can name it as abbreviation as STATA. Bank cost to income ratio, we can name it like cost to income, CTI. Net interest margin, we can name it as NIM. Non-performing loans, we can name it as NPL. Z-score, you can name it as Z. Z-score, one more time, it measures the stability of the financial system in a specific country. GDP, liquidity, and that's it. And we have banking crisis. Let's call it as dummy variable. So banking crisis, they consider here only the number of the years, which is 2007, 2009, the global financial crisis. We would like to see how this global financial crisis affects our financial performance. So before starting, there is one more thing you need to do, is your GDP is in absolute term. It's in billions. We need to make it a logarithm. We need to take the logarithm to convert into percentages. So we call it as LGDP, logarithm of GDP. So log, we can take 10 of log. That's it. So we took for everything. So what we're going to use the LGDP. So net interest margin here. And guys, another thing what we need to do in here, additionally, you see these dots? You need to get rid of these dots because the STATA does not recognize the dots. Otherwise, it recognizes the column and the rows as string variable. I mean, the string, it is called as a text variable. So the text cannot be calculated and cannot be applied to econometrical analysis. So we need to get rid of it. You can just delete it manually or with the Control F by replace. Is it different from the real GDP growth number data? Yes, the real GDP is they're adjusted to inflation, but you can use the GDP. Don't use the real GDP. Use the GDP growth, but do not use the real GDP. But sometimes the inflation can be proxied not by GDP. It can be used as CPI, the Consumer Price Index. So you can use the CPI as well. If you get it directly, the growth itself, no problem, you're welcome. You don't have to convert anything. We are converting we are taking the logarithm only if it's an absolute term. Like total asset, in order to convert into percentage, you just take the logarithm of it. Now, delete these dots, or do not waste the time by deleting, just replace it like empty cells. Find what? We find 2 dots and replace it with empty cell. Let's say find it, replace, 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 or we can make it replace all. That's it. But I selected for just here, but Control F, replace, replace. Okay, my data is ready to run in STATA. However, there's one thing I'm missing, is one more time, is ID number. The STATA requires the ID, like it does not read the text, as I told you. The STATA program, it reads only the number. So we need to name our countries as an ID, because we will declare our data set. We'll say to the STATA, this is data which is panel data, not a cross-section, not a time series, because in time series and in cross-section, the regression analysis is done a little bit differently. That's why it needs to a declaration. So we call Kazakhstan as 1, Kyrgyzstan will call it as 2, Russian we're gonna call it as 3, and Belarus we're gonna call it as 4. And Armenia you're gonna call it as 5. So we have 5 different IDs. Identification number. Okay, now it's fine. Great. Let me save this. No, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's just for you to know. Maybe in the future you will want to make some differentiation using the dummy variable. But for this time, I'm not going to introduce. But for the future, if you will need, sometimes you may need it. But for this time, we don't need it. We just needed to identify each variable here. Okay, then we're saving. Desktop. Guys, at the beginning of the classes, before we started the term project, I said that I'm going to help you with the regression analysis. Yes, I'm going to help you, but I want you to do it yourself, the regression analysis, using the STATA program, because you're the one who is going to write the thesis. You will use the STATA a lot. That's why I want you to learn it, at least to have some idea about the STATA, how it works. I will help you if you will have some problems with getting the results. I will guide you on how to use it and how to get the proper result. I'm going to share the link with you where you can download the STATA for free and you can use it for free. So our data set is ready. We can run it. So it took us 20 minutes, 25 minutes to arrange the data, to download and arrange the data. So what is left is to use the STATA. So we go to File. Let me just here. When you download the STATA, you will have this folder, STATA code. You don't have to install the STATA itself. It is already installed and it can be opened. So whenever you download it, you just download this folder and you just open it. So you just run this. It directly opens. You don't have to install it. Okay, then we go to File, Import, Excel spreadsheet. We import it. We browse it. One more time. File, Import, Excel spreadsheet. Browse. Data set. We open it. In here, you can see it's just mixture of it, but we need to select a right worksheet. Here, everything what we did it in worksheet A1. So here, this is our data set. However, we want it to be imported with the first row as a variable names. Like we don't want to rename it in STATA. We want to import it already named. So we just click on here. So our data set will be imported as a first row variable names. And just press OK. Now variable names on the right side, you can see column here. It's imported. Now what is left? We need to declare. How do we declare? You can use the statistics here, but the best to use the coding. It's a fast and quick. If it's xt set, it's your given command. Declare that this is the panel data. We always declare by years and ID. So all the panel data are declared by years and ID. So this is declaration of the panel data. When it comes to the time series, you declare by years only. When it comes to the cross section, you declare by ID. We press enter. So panel variable, years, strongly balanced. Very good. That's it. Our data set is ready. So now we can make a regression analysis. You need to remember only two coding in here, xt-set and regression. Regress, this is coding and giving command for regression. And our dependent variable is net interest margin. We just click on the name, it appears in here. Our independent variables, they are here, theta, STI. So theta is capital adequacy, CTI is the management efficiency, cost to income, NPL, liquidity. We have Z-score. Z-score is stability of financial system. LGDP, we don't use GDP because GDP is in an absolute term. We use the logarithm of the GDP. And what else we are left? And dummy variable. That's it. So we regress it. Dummy measures global financial crisis, how it affects the financial performance. And we press enter. Here is the result. We get it. So what is your job? Is just to interpret the result. Let me write down the model itself. So our model is NIM is equal to beta 0 plus beta 1, which is theta, capital adequacy. Betas are representing the coefficients, the sign of effect of dependent variable on independent variable on dependent variables, plus beta 2 CTI plus beta 3 beta 3 is NPL, non-performing loans, plus beta 4, beta coefficient 4 is for liquidity, plus beta 5 of Z-score, plus beta 6 is for LGDP. And the last one, beta 7, is for dummy variable. And plus error term. So this is our model, guys. So dependent variable, and these are the independent variable. So this independent variable, what it means? We're gonna do the economic interpretation, guys. First of all, we want to see, our job is to see how the independent variables, they affect profitability, the net interest margin. Assuming ceteris and paribus, all other things is equal to 0, there is no changes. What will happen to the net interest margin? Your net interest margin, if there is no change in theta, there is no change in CTI, NPL, liquidity, and so on, so 0 change in these variables, what will happen to your profitability? If imagine nothing happens to this independent variable, what will be the effect on the net interest margin? Your net interest margin will change by coefficient of beta 0. It's a constant term. So we need to get the variables in here. Look at here. These are the coefficients that I'm talking. Oops, it's white. So these are the name of the coefficient that we're going to use. Like constant is beta 0. Dummy is beta 7. LGDP is beta 6. So this coefficient represent, we should replace by betas. So 1% change in, let's say in theta, capital adequacy. If you increase the capital adequacy of the bank by 1%, your GDP will increase by 0.034%. It's a positive sign. Why increase? The positive and negative sign, it shows the direction of the change your profitability of the banks in the Eurasian economic countries. So we can see that liquidity, it affects negatively. We can see that LGDP affects negatively. And dummy variable, which is crisis, it affects negatively as well. It's logical. The crisis affected performance negatively. So this is the economic interpretation. Starting from one place, okay, guys? To do it, we are using the coefficient instead of betas to see the direction and by how much your profitability determinant will be changing if there is 1% change in independent variables. So starting with, let's say, theta, the capital adequacy, positive effect of capital adequacy, increasing the capital adequacy, having more equity in your bank, it will increase the profitability. Okay, that's great. However, this interpretation is not enough. We say that theta affects positively the profitability, the NIM. So we say it affects, but you should provide the reason why it is so. Is there any idea who can share the reason why the capital adequacy, when it increases the profitability? More equity, more return. How can it be explained? Any ideas, guys?
More funds involved.
One more time.
More funds involved.
Yes.
To generate more return.
Very nice, Islam. Very good. Which means that more funds involved in specific project, to generate return. So this is another thing. Okay, you said the positive effect, you said the reason, and now is the time to compare with the previous study that you have already mentioned in the literature review. It is consistent with the findings of Faizullayev et al. 2018. Great. Let's move further. What if CTI, cost to income management? Cost to income management. Let's skip it. Let's come to the liquidity. Liquidity affects negatively NIM. Okay, who can tell me the reason why the liquidity can affect the net interest margin negatively?
So if liquidity is low, then that could affect net interest margin in a negative way.
No, if you reduce the liquidity, it will increase the profitability. If you increase the liquidity, it will reduce the profitability. There is an inverse relationship, and this inverse relationship is can be understood from
less liquid assets means higher risk.
Think carefully, guys. When you increase the liquidity, it means that you are increasing the liquidity, you are becoming more liquid.
Yeah.
So for the
then less risk.
And less risk. Yeah, for the banks, what they do with the money?
They can invest it.
No,
they can.
What is the major way of earning the
interest?
Interest through the money. The more money they use, the more money they lend, the more they earn. However, if they keep the money to increase the liquidity, will the profit will increase or not?
It will decrease because they are not using that money right now. So
yes,
like it's $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, something like this. Like
so decision to keep the money in the bank to have the strong liquidity position, that may affect the profitability inversely. So the profitability will be deteriorated. So this decision at the end, so we say that having
inverse relationship.
Inverse relationship.
Yeah, it's an inverse relation. Having liquidity strong position deteriorates NIM. This study is not so. Now we need to compare with other findings. This study does not go. Does not. This study contradicts. Let's say, Goddard, 2004. I'm just making up the story, okay? You will understand. You have to see the studies that you have used. You have to see and to compare. Okay, coming to the dummy crisis, guys. Is it logical to have a negative effect on profitability, the dummy?
Dummy, we said it's crisis, right?
Yeah, global financial crisis, 2007, 2009. It negatively affects the NIM.
Yes.
It's logical because during the global financial crisis, nobody wants to lend the money.
True.
Everybody is trying to keep strong liquidity position. So we can connect. During this liquidity crisis, maybe the banks are afraid to lend the money. That's why they're trying to keep the liquidity position strong. That's why it affects the profitability negatively. And the dummy crisis show as an evidence during the crisis, they underperformed. So in this country.
What about NPLs? Why do they have positive sign?
Look, in here, the non-performing loans, it has a positive sign. Very good. Why it may have it? Think. NPL is what?
Non-performing loans.
Are the loans like bad loans? The loans that are not qualified, not really collectible, but is like probability that they will be. They are given to the less qualified customers.
So with less credit worthiness, huh?
You remember what happened to before the global financial crisis?
There was a lot of NPLs.
There was a lot of NPLs, which are, they were called subprime
Mortgage.
Subprime mortgages. Or yeah.
subprime mortgages. So these subprime mortgages were given to the unqualified customers, less credit-worthy customers, and they started to earn profit on them.
And plus customers who didn't have enough profit, enough money to pay back regularly.
Ninja securities, no income, no job or something.
It was very cheap and affordable. Like it was very accessible, I mean, for people.
Very true.
To get.
Very true. Very true.
And it resulted in a bubble, I said, because too much was consumed. And they couldn't pay back afterwards, which they started to sell back the houses.
Okay, for you just to keep it. Okay, guys, what about the Z value? It's a positive effect on net interest margin. It seems like logical. Z score represents the financial stability. The more stable and more secure the system itself, the better profit and the better more opportunities may come to generate the profitability, more profits. So this is logical. And what else left that we have not discussed is cost to management. Cost to management. In here, I find it out is something unusual because generally cost to management is has got the negative or inverse relationship with the profitability because it's shown the cost to income. The higher the ratio, the lower the profitability. It should be, but in this case, it is just opposite. So by chance, we got like a positive relationship. Sometimes it can be said that this type of relationship cannot be explained, or if you have some ideas to explain it, why it might be the case that the cost to management has got the positive effect on profitability. So increasing the cost, it will increase the profitability. How it's possible that you make it like this? How can you explain it? If there are many studies, they found it the same. They said that we found the positive, but this positive sign, we don't know why it exists. It's something.
Because higher management quality increases the strategies of the bank.
Might be the explanation. Like increasing the quality of the management, in return that highly qualified managers will bring the profit in the future. This can be the reason. Yes, very nice, Islam. So now you need to compare with our other studies, with the one that it contradicts and with the one it goes consistent. Okay, this is the economic interpretation, how we should interpret each variable's effect on the profitability, given the sign direction and given the reason why it happens. And the third, you should explain, try to compare with other studies. So what you need to do first, show direction. Second, reason. And the third, comparison. This is the way of interpreting your results after the methodology, after the collecting data, after the running it. This is the way you should do it. Okay, this is one thing. Now, we talked economic interpretation, we interpreted. However, there's a thing that we should take into consideration is the significance of the variables. Are they significant or not? Can we rely on these variables or not? Can we do this interpretation or not? In order to do that, to see the significance, we should check the p-values. Validity of variables. Okay, and coefficient, as I told you, it measures direction of effect. So in here, if we go one by one, we can see the constant is positive, it's significant because it is less than alpha level of significance. The significance, we have 3 levels of significance, 1, 5, 10%. So we have 3 levels of significance. Significance levels, there are 3. 1, 1%, 5%, and 10%. So p-value should be less than significance level in order for the variable to be valid or significant. So this is significance level. Now, we can see that constant variable is valid. Dummy crisis is not valid, so we cannot take as a significant or validated variable. We cannot say that it affects negatively. There's something wrong with this variable. LGDP is significant. LGDP is significant and negative effect. Z-score, the financial stability is significant. It affects. Liquidity is not significant. If it was significant, then the interpretation should be like this. In here, when I was doing interpretation, I assumed that they're all significant. That's why I was making interpretation. So I don't know what type of results you're going to have it. So that your interpretation should go in accordance with what we done it in here. NPL is not significant. Cost to income is not significant. And theta is not significant. 1, 2, 3. It is possible to have 3, 4 variables to be significant in the model, but how can you manipulate with this to make it more significant? Basically, you can just play out. You can create different models. Different models, I mean, this is one model, let's say. Okay, this is one model. In order to create a second model, just drop one variable. Let's say I want to drop Z. I'm dropping it. Second model without financial stability, assuming there is no financial stability factor. And let's see what will happen. In here, just count. We have 3 variables in the first model with the financial stability. Same, or you can just leave it. Just take out the dummy variable and put it back to Z. 1, 2, 3. Still doesn't give good. There are some studies, they do modeling in different ways. They say, let us make it micro model and macro. Micro, they say we use only the bank specific variables, and then later we use a macro variables together. So if we delete LGDP and Z, and still not significant. So our first model, we'll have it here. And as I told you guys, we are using different methodologies. By different methodology, I mean different models by with the different profitability indicators. Net interest margin, first one. The other 2 is return on asset and return on equity. So you can use these 3 profitability measures. So in here, in the first one that we get here, we said 1, 2, 3 variables are significant. And can we say that the whole model is statistically validated or no? So we need to go with F statistics. That checks the validity of the whole model. So validity of the whole model, if the FP value is less than level of significance 1 to 5 or 1 or 5 or 10%, then the model is best fitted, is model is validated. So in this case, our model is validated. And what else? We have here R square. R square shows the variation, the changes in profitability is explained by the changes in independent variables like thetas, cost to income management, NPL, liquidity, and Z and LGDP, and done it. So our model is best fitted. So we can give in conclusion some recommendation for implication this model. What can be done?
So
Yes. You have a question? Okay. In here, your recommendation will be what? Based on the variables that are significant. So you have significant variable LGDP and Z score, let's say. Or let me use another data immediately. So I declare the data again, and I have more data in here. Regress name. NPL, theta. Domestic credit, LGDP, liquidity. By the way, I selected one domestic credit in private sector, like the banks are giving domestic credit to boost the private sector as well. You can select as well this variable. There are many variables that you can select it. Okay. Now I can run the. Here I have many significance, but let me just drop. One, two, three, four. Now I have 4 significant. And here. So we can go with this. It's the same thing. As you can see, it shows the validity as well. Here, Z is significant. Domestic credit is negatively related to profitability. Giving more domestic credit to the private sector, it reduced the profitability. And LGDP is not significant. Liquidity is negatively related to profitability, which is significant. And this can be significant, but it's not if we play with the formula itself. Let's say I eliminate theta. No. But if I get, let's say, there are some models that can be used, XTREC, let's say, XTREC. Let's say I want to use fixed effect. You can see I'm using different model of regression analysis, fixed effect, using the fixed effect. I'm getting good results, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But if I add the dummy variable here as well, I think I'm going to get even better results. One, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So liquidity, cost management, Z score is affecting positively. So in here, I'm using the fixed effect model. Fixed effect assumes that if you use, the first one that I used is just was OLS, is ordinary least square, that assumes that everything is clear, everything is perfect, there is no mistakes, that all countries are same, like Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, they're all same in economic, they're everything same. However, the fixed effect says if there are different countries are using panel data, you have to use the fixed effect because of the different characteristics that they have it in terms of economy, in terms of beliefs, in terms of culture and everything, because this differentiation characteristic should have an effect, the profitability differently. This is why we're using the fixed effect. We can use the fixed effect as well, like XTREC and putting the same model. You can just omit macroeconomic variable. Oops. So without macroeconomic variable, the model is not good. Okay. Any questions you want to ask related to data running in STATA and interpreting the results? This is how you should interpret the results. If you don't have any questions, I want to make some comments in methodology part. Okay, I think nobody has got any questions. Then I have to share the link with you first of all. Okay.
So, Professor, there is like any difference between that, how we're gonna, or like between the OLS and the GMM?
For GMM, it's better not to try it, because if you go for GMM, let's do it with just, if you're gonna do, if you're just gonna do for article to submit it, no need for the GMM, for conference.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're gonna do it for thesis, if you do it the GMM, but what I saw and what I realized, there is no study which is done using the GMM in master thesis.
Mm-hmm. Because I saw some of the these articles who were, I mean, the abstracts, there was like kind of saying that GMM was used. So if they know how to use them, use it then afterwards.
Okay, the GMM is not a big deal. I mean, we can handle, but for the GMM, I have to spend to teach you. For example, I have to, maybe it may take 2 weeks to teach you. It's here we are doing the simple coding. For GMM, I can share the coding with you. It's a bit.
And I just want to understand the benefits of using GMM.
Okay, now let me just give you the why we are using the GMM. What is the OLS? Here, using the OLS, let me just open the guideline. It's very good guideline. It's good that you raised this question, Islam. Here, is the screen shared? Yeah, the screen is shared. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, guys. Here the 5 assumptions when we use the OLS. We assume that there is a linearity, first of all. Linearity, that dependent variable is a linear function and independent variable and error term, they exist. Okay, there's no problem. Like what we constructed the model. There is a dependent, there is an independent, and there is an error term. Do you know what is the error term measures? In STATA here, in STATA in here, we have a thing which is called R square. Here. This is R square, 44%, okay? R square is 44% here. 44% changes in NIM is explained by independent variables. However, 56% is explained
For
by
dependent. Huh?
error. You don't know what is that error includes, some external factors.
Mhm.
We'll come to this point. GMM solved this problem. Says that if you have a low R square, GMM solves it and says, okay, if this 56% is not explained by independent variable, GMM will find those variables that explain it, your profitability. Did you get it?
Understand.
Okay, returning
Thanks.
to the OLS assumption. Sorry, where is it? Here. Now, exogeneity says that expected value of disturbance is 0. Okay, our problem is with the linearity is understood that error is explained by this amount, independent variable explains your profitability by this amount. Okay?
Mhm.
We said that 44% is explained by in-depth variables and 56% error. Our concern as an economist, as an analysis, to know what is those variables that explains error. Okay, once we find it, you know there is a case which is called exogeneity, when the error terms, they are affecting each other. There is no only one, like some external factors, they are affecting each other, and it is changing.
Mhm.
And it affects the dependent variables. So these variables is not only affecting your profitability, it will affect your independent variables as well. Did you get it?
So the error will affect independent and might affect also dependent.
Yes, all of them. If it affects independent variable, then your estimation is not validated. This is assumption of Euler says the error terms, they do not change and they do not affect independent variables and they do not affect your profitability. They say this is everything is exogenous, like everything is perfect, smooth. There is no problem with, there is no external factors that affect my regressors, my independent variables. Error terms may affect only the profitability. But if it affects your independent variable, definitely independent variable will affect your dependent variable. So this is second assumption. The third assumption says homoscedasticity and autocorrelation. So they say the variance of your error terms is known, you know, it's stable. Like you control the variance of error. Like all other external factors that may affect your estimation, you took under control. They are not changing. It's stable. This is assumption, but in reality, they are changing. They are heteroscedastic. And in part 3, they say there is no autocorrelation. Autocorrelation means when the error terms are correlated with each other, like error with error. And so on, like stationarity and etc. So I don't want to go more deep in this. So these 5 assumptions are used to run the OLS. If you can prove that OLS, the model that you are doing are considering these oral assumptions, then you can use the OLS. But in reality, I'm afraid that you will be able to prove it. There is no study that proves it that OLS can be used, because system GMM, it solves these all problems. If you have a problem with linearity, if you have a problem with exogeneity, if you have a problem with autocorrelation, heteroscedasticity, then system GMM is the best in this case. It
I
takes
see.
me everything under control, and your result is good. What can I advise to you guys? You can do it OLS now for your article, and as a separate chapter, including your thesis, and
Mhm.
use a second way of analyzing, doing the system GMM. That will be a robust check. Like, look, I did analysis now, my regression, and I want to do a robust check. I want to control my OLS, whether it's good or not. How are you going to control it? You're going to control using the system GMM. So you will have in your paper two different analyses. One analysis will control everything, which is system GMM. And it will be very nice methodology. Somebody wrote anything, just let me just see it. What was it? In common correlated effects, also methodology. What do you mean by common correlated? Correlation, you mean? Yeah, there is another way, which is correlation. Correlation is another story. In correlation, we may have a problem with called multicollinearity, when independent variables are highly correlated with each other. This is another problem. And OLS doesn't take this into consideration as well. So for the system GMM, I want to show you how it looks like. I will do my quickly. This is my data that I used. This is how it looks like. This I've been downloading, like I have 9 countries. I have 325 banks. Now your research is based by country. My research is based by bank. Like I selected all banks separately. 321 banks, and each bank I put the data in here separately here.
So for GMM, you are using different file right now, right?
Yes, yes, true. And the coding is different. STATA commands here. Here's the coding for system.
So what, it wouldn't be possible to use the same for the same like that we worked data like GMM that we collected today?
No. The data that you sent me, definitely, because a simple OLS cannot get estimation in your event.
No. I mean the one that you made like during this class.
We can try it. Let's try it. We can try it. It can be worked. I don't know. So this is coding for system GMM. Extabond2, and it goes like this. There's a problem because we have not defined the variables itself. We have to define the variables, and then we can run. Okay, it will take time to run it, and we'll add it before we define it. Okay. Let's first do the OLS. Interpret the OLS, get the results,
Okay.
and give interpretation. And if you're planning to write your thesis, we can do it. Islam, for your case, I will advise you to change the countries for now, put different countries, and quickly collect the data and do this to submit the article itself. Because really, I tried many times your things, but it didn't work. It just gives nothing. It gives some error.
What I'm planning to do, except that we wrote like a few emails yesterday as well, to give us like unconsolidated by each country. There is in financial and annual report, there are some contribution factors by each country, contribution data by each country, and everything like this. So I will look the same time, maybe there will be some kind of a link that can be found on the annual reports
I see.
for each
I see.
country.
If it is the case, it's gonna be very, very nice. It's really gonna kill the literature review itself, because really this study will be good.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay.
If you don't have any questions, yes,
Can we
Zanai.
talk to you after the class?
You have exam today.
Just yeah, just a little bit of discussion.
Okay,
Okay.
guys, do you have any questions? I'm waiting from you the methodology part by Monday.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, see you on Monday.
See
One
you.
question,
Yes, Madi.
Professor. In my literature review, one article was available from KMap, and now I cannot get the full text. I requested the full text from Elsevier, but they're not sending it yet. Is it possible? Maybe you have some.
First of all, I have to meet with you guys, Anel, Jaras, and Madi, you separately to discuss. I saw your literature review. There should be some correction taken. We need to discuss separately.
Okay.
We have to arrange a call. Today, I will not be able to do it, guys, with you. Is it possible to meet you on Saturday so that we can have a lot of time to discuss? Saturday. So write me which time which is convenient for you on Saturday. If it's okay with me, we'll meet on Saturday and discuss about your literature review.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't have any questions, guys. Yes, Jana.
Yeah, about this. What if they don't reply the EBRD?
If they don't reply, if you cannot find the data, then you will have to select different countries, let's say 5 different countries.
Okay.
You will, whatever we did today in the class, you will do the same thing. Download, organize in the way that I ask, run STATA, that's it. The STATA program, I will send you the link now.
Okay, so we can select, like, I don't know, Central Asian countries or Eurasian economic
European countries, yes, you can select separately.
Okay.
Asian, Pacific regions, you can select.
Okay, understood.
Okay then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can we have a meeting tomorrow, video conference? Will it be possible?
Zanai, with you, yes, we will keep in touch. But from 12 till 6, I have classes. I'm not free. After 6, we can talk.
Yes, after 6. Okay. Well, after, like, at 6:30, I will have a class. So, will it be possible at 9:30 or something like this?
9:30?
Yeah. Or 9:40.
Okay, we'll keep in touch. We'll keep in touch.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm sending the link.
Thank you.
Guys, before you leave, I'm sending the link. Please download it in today. If it's possible, download it today, because there's a timing that they will take it out from that link. So the link I will send you, just download it. Today and tomorrow, the last day, I think.
Okay.
I sent to the WhatsApp group now. It's a WeTransfer, and it cannot be like for more than 7 days. Just download that data. It's not a data, it's a software STATA. Okay, see you then, guys.
See you. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.